Man, we are live. Thanks for tuning
Awesome.
into this live
Yeah.
stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And I have a very special guest, Krish Mohan. Am I pronouncing that right? Krish Mohan?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
You let the crowd know a little bit about yourself, what you do and who you are.
Yeah. So I am a stand-up comedian. I tour around the country. The type of comedy I do is long form, and it addresses a lot of issues that aren't particularly covered in the mainstream, like anti-war movements, or talking about just being anti-war in general, talking about like capitalism and competition, classism, things like that. Stuff that you won't probably see on like a typical Netflix comedy special, or on HBO or any sort of like mainstream comedy outlet. So I've toured around with Lee Camp a little bit, and I have a brand new album coming out called Empathy on Sale. That was basically I wrote that as like a response to everybody's reaction to the 2016 election, because everybody freaked out. Like I was driving from Pensacola to Athens, Georgia, the day after the election, and I had to like kind of calm three of my friends down, because like one of them was like drunk at 10 a.m. and I was like,
it's a day
okay.
after Trump won.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I had a good hearty laugh.
And I was like, all right, man, we're gonna be okay. Like, we have to do some work, but I feel like we're gonna get through it. Like, remember Andrew Jackson? Like, I feel like everybody got through that without Facebook or Twitter, or like modern healthcare. So like,
It's true.
like,
it's true.
I feel like we could probably get through the next 4 years. Like, all this means is.
Well, I will say, when I saw people crying, like at the convention or at Hillary Clinton's little, I don't know what you want to call it, her failure, I don't know what you call it, a failure party. I know they kept like, I don't know what you call that, but it was pretty sad.
Yeah.
She didn't even show up to her own damn party. So I don't know if you want to call it hers. Her pity party. There you go. We'll call it that. Her pity party. And I was laughing so hard. I'm like, hold on. I've been saying, I'm like, did y'all think she had a chance of winning? She literally was not campaigning in swing states.
Yeah.
If you're crying, I hope it's with anger because of how bad of a politician she was.
Yeah, I mean, she just went to the states where she had the biggest donors. And it's, unfortunately, Wisconsin and Michigan didn't have enough donors that gave her billions of dollars. Like, that's, like that's...
Pennsylvania too.
Yeah.
First state
here. I think she came through. I live in Pittsburgh, so I live in Western Pennsylvania, which is like, this is a blue collar city. Like there was a bunch of mills and industry here, right? And there's like a lot of history here. And I think she came here once during the campaign, and I'm pretty sure Bernie came here like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and the time she came was primaries.
Yeah, when she was going up against Bernie, when she knew it would count that she has to show up, is when she showed up. But then. Again, it's like running as at least I'm not this fucking guy is not like, that's not a platform. Those aren't policies. Those aren't issues.
Not? How it seems to be working for everybody now, right? That's why everybody is literally trying to be Bernie now. Because it worked so well.
But you still have people like that are like, hey, don't look at Joe Biden's record, and it's like, that's what he has.
Don't be mean. Don't be mean to Biden.
Yeah, don't bring up history. It's like, okay, then what the fuck are we supposed to bring
it's
up?
Weird because Kamala was somehow getting like positive feedback, which I don't even call it. Wouldn't even call it an attack, but they're calling it an attack. It says Joe Biden hits or Kamala Harris hits Joe Biden on the crime bill. And I was like, oh wow, this might be good. You know what that their quote was? Well, the crime bill most certainly did create mass incarceration. That was her attacking Joe Biden, apparently.
Yeah, but so was her smart on crime bill.
Yeah.
Anything that ends with on crime ends with mass incarceration.
Yeah, also ends with black people ending up.
Yeah, nonviolent offenders going in, and it's like what the letter that Julian Assange sent out. It's like, I'm literally in prison with murderers and like people of violent offenders, and I just published basically proof of U.S. war crimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
What's your take on the whole Assange situation? And by the way, there is an update.
Yeah.
He's being he's hospitalized right now in the jail that he's in Great Britain.
what?
So, yeah. I mean, he hasn't been getting sunlight, so I imagine like that's a problem.
I can't say that I'm not surprised. I'm just hoping that he's getting the appropriate medical attention that he needs, because a lot of the research that I've done about it, because I'm trying to work on a piece about it for the video series that I do, a lot of information that I've heard is like, hey, this guy is mentally not doing great and physically not doing great. Like, there was one report, I was talking to my wife about it, was like, I'm pretty sure he's losing his eyesight, because if you don't, like, if you're not looking at a horizon, or if you're not looking into a distance, it can affect your eyesight, and it can affect like how your eyes.
That's true. Depth perception.
Depth perception. Yeah. So like it literally, like it literally screws with that. And then like there was one report where they were like, oh, he's suicidally depressed because of what's going on, and he's still like connected to WikiLeaks. So he's still like trying. I don't think he's going on there and still publishing stuff.
But he's still helping to manage.
He's still helping to manage stuff. Yeah, so it's like a managerial role. But even that is like, have you, like, being a manager is still pretty friggin' stressful, you know?
Especially
like,
when it's, you know, the most wanted publication in the world.
Right. something that's like basically being referred to as an enemy of the state by people like John Bolton, you know, like. So
what's your take on these journalists recently? Just over the last 2 or 3 days, now they've decided that Julian Assange is a journalist again.
Oh, because they probably see the writing on the wall. They probably see the writing on the wall that the next step is if the Washington Post writes an article that someone in the CIA or somebody within Trump's campaign doesn't particularly like, then they'll come after them.
Oh, yeah. Know? And to be honest with you, you know who's probably has them. I mean, Trump has done a lot of bad, but unfortunately, Rachel Maddow doesn't want to focus on the bad, right? Rachel Maddow wanted to focus on the lies. She wanted to lie on the office of the president of the United States of America because it got her ratings.
Oh, yeah.
And who do you think would be the first target?
I don't know if it would be Maddow, though.
No, Maddow would be the first target. If Trump just said, fuck it, go after every one of my enemies, Maddow would be the first target.
But then I think that it would kind of go against what the deep state wants, right? Like the deep state kind of wants that civil unrest.
Yeah, but Trump doesn't give a shit about the deep state. Trump just doing what the hell he wants to do. Whatever the most.
That's true. That's fair.
If you're taking out his enemies, he will let you do what you want to. He'll let the deep state do what they want to.
Well, right. And I mean that was, but this call for people in the press, you know, like and the excuses for like not defending Julian Assange were ridiculous. Like, oh, but he's such an asshole. It's like, who cares?
Yeah,
like
he's
I'm
a journalist.
pretty sure
it's kind of part of the job. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right, but here's the thing: is like I don't see Chris Hedges wanting to like hang out and have a beer at a party. You know what I mean? But the man does some good work. You know, like he puts out harsh truths, but I feel like I'm not gonna like have a beer with Chris Hedges. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. Like why are you making the fact that he's not a socialite be the determining factor of whether he's a good journalist or not, whether the information he's putting out is truthful or not, and is coming from reliable sources, and he's not printing a bunch of fucking hearsay. Like Chelsea Manning basically gave him hard evidence about U.S. war crimes. And instead of going after U.S. war crimes, we're like, we got to put this guy in prison.
Yeah, right. It's worse because Bolton and Mattis and Pompeo, they got promotions. They literally got promotions for committing war crimes. Yeah. And Julian Assange is now in jail for exposing those war crimes.
Well, and then there was I think one of the earlier reports that were coming out say that they wanted to indict him on treason. I think I saw one report that said that they were trying to get him on treason, and it's like, dude, he's not an American citizen.
Yeah, he was never an American citizen. You can't betray somebody you can't betray a country you never belonged to.
Right. Right. I think he is an objective. He's an objective journalist and a publisher. I don't think he's got an agenda. I think he just wants people to know the truth and do something about it to like find justice. Like, to me, journalism is about providing information to people and then seeing what they can do with that information, right? Like, let the people determine whether it's just or unjust, you know? Like, that's what real journalism is about. So like people like Rachel Maddow or Tucker Carlson, they basically tell you what to think. So they're going against the foundations of what journalism is, and journalism is supposed to promote critical thinking. Like, I think it's one of the last vestiges of actually promoting critical thinking, and I feel like globally that sort of stuff has been attacked. There isn't a lot of journalists that are on any sort of like mainstream or corporate news that are like, hey, here's what the information is. What do you think? Right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of like, oh, this seems like this is Russian, or this seems like it's this liberal agenda that's coming out, you know, without defining what the liberal agenda actually is. Right?
Cultural Marxism.
Right.
That Marx has never discussed in his life. They just invented something based off of literally nothing.
Right. And it's like, hey, we want to make that decision for ourselves. And if you provide all the information that you've learned from the source, then awesome. Like, the people can figure that out. But they don't want people to figure that out, because at the end of the day, like, if you let people figure it out, it's like, oh yeah, we should have Medicare for all. Of course we should have. Of course we shouldn't be invading Venezuela for their oil. Like, that seems crazy. Of course we shouldn't be installing somebody in a country we have no business being in, you know, just for their natural resources. And all of those things would kind of fall into place, because I think for most like common people, they don't want any other country to interfere in what we're doing. So why would we interfere in what other countries are doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense in that sense. I
think that most people have caught on. I mean, the ratings for mainstream, like, they can talk all day about how MSNBC might be doing better than Fox and vice versa at, you know, certain points in the year. But at the end of the day, all the ratings have dropped substantially, significant. That's why they've been targeting YouTubers and YouTube in general, and they've been targeting their advertisers and saying, oh, you're promoting, like Jimmy Dore was attacked last year by CNN, and they were literally tagging in the article the stock options. They were linking the stocks in case you want to sell your stocks in this, you know, because you're, you know, these ads have been seen on Jimmy Dore's videos. That's literally what they were saying, because they're losing money. I mean, if we're not going to war, Boeing and Lockheed Martin can't sponsor all of the mainstream media. Can't sponsor all of them, because they're not going to be making any money off of them. And these boomers aren't going to be here for forever, okay? And life expectancy, unfortunately, because of the neoliberal, neoconservative establishment, has dropped significantly. So, you know, it's the truth. Like, eventually, people do, I think, want to look. They're like, this is stupid. I've seen this story before. I've heard this 1,000 times. Well, let me try to find the message elsewhere. And I do think that that's where, like, you know, Lee Camp and yourself come in, Jimmy. And it's crazy because I feel like I've seen more comedians do more diligent journalism. You know, and then I've seen journalists do diligent journalism. I mean, I'm talking about, there's some quote unquote independent journalists who are not really doing their due diligence as much as comedians have been. And I feel like it's because comedians, oftentimes you all don't have to, you're not worried about quote unquote backlash. Like, if you're a legitimate comedian, you're supposed to be covering it objectively, one way or the other. And it's just supposed to be, it is what it is. You can take it and it's funny, or it's either funny or it's not funny. It's not whether or not is this totally the establishment enough or no. Like Bill Maher, I think is trash. I don't even think he's funny.
I think Bill Maher's arrogant. That's where he lost me. I have a friend that's been on his show a few times. Asra Nomani has been on there a few times. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Asra. I like Asra. I disagree with her on a few things, but we're able to have like amicable discussions about why we disagree with each other. And it never goes into like, I hate you or whatever. But I mean, she went on, she's from West Virginia. So she again, it's like she sees the blue collar working class people that like have struggled over the last 20 years, right? They're losing jobs. Their communities are dying. There's there's a bunch of addiction issues in their community, and so I like. Hold on, say bye to my wife. She's going to I'm like down the street. So, but yeah, Oscar went on the show and was like, "Hey, demonizing Trump supporters is not gonna be good for the country." And everybody on that show was like, "Oh, you're crazy. These people are voting for fascism and blah blah blah." And it's like, no, that's already here. Like,
yeah, it's been here.
Obama opened up the surveillance state more than any other president ever could. Like he basically
even more than Trump.
Yeah, he basically like took what the Patriot Act did and then like went tenfold with it. Like he communed Chelsea Manning's sentence instead of just straight up pardoning her. Yeah, that's basically leaving it open for whoever's true. Next. He didn't part. If he truly stood for what she did, for being a brave whistleblower, for being a patriot, he would have pardoned her. But he didn't. He commuted her sentence, which means that at any point she could go back, and that's what happened. Like, it's crazy. So Ostra was like, you can't do that because these people might not have a full understanding of what's going on, and if you don't talk to them like they're people, then you're never gonna get that. But people like Bill Maher was so smug about it. And that's part of the reason I think why people go to comedians. They go to on the ground citizen journalists, right? Like yourself and Jimmy Dore, and because they're looking at it as the perspective of the average citizen, not what politicians are doing. Like, no, how is this policy going to affect people? That's what it all boils down to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like Bill Maher he's not concerned with policies, right? Policies don't affect him.
No, yeah.
Bill Maher is a millionaire 15, 20 times over. But it's crazy because he like demonizes Trump supporters like they're pro-fascist. Bill Maher is a Zionist. That is about the most fascist as you can be in 2019. I mean, Netanyahu is basically a well-spoken Trump at this point. Right. He actually does speak English better than Trump. It's actually kind of weird. But he's he does. And that's what I find ironic about this. They demonize Trump support. How can you support Trump? Well, how can you support Netanyahu? At least I know that there are people, when they voted for Trump, I know plenty of people who voted for Trump because they just wanted something. They wanted to shake it up. They said, fuck it. We roll the dice. We'll see if we come out on the other end. It's like having raw sex in Las Vegas with a prostitute for the first time just because you're so tired of your wife. It's like, fuck it, we'll see how it turns out. It might turn out great. It might turn out horrible. We'll figure it out when we come out on the other end, but I don't have to do the shit again. Like, but with Bill Maher, in my opinion, has access to enough information, access to enough education that he should never be pro Netanyahu. You know what I'm saying? And you're a comedian. And you're supposed to be objective. Like, I love Dave Chappelle, for example, because Dave Chappelle don't really give a shit about your feelings one way or the other. He criticizes conservatives as much as he criticizes liberals and vice versa. And it's because both sides do need to be critiqued.
Absolutely.
And that's what I feel like we don't get that enough from the mainstream comedians. And I feel like that is a large reason why you see a lot of underground or quote unquote, or they used to be underground comedians coming up, becoming more popular. You know what I'm saying? Like, what Jimmy has managed to do with his platform is insane. What Lee has managed to do with Redacted at Night, people who used to love the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, now they will watch either Lee or Jimmy because they feel like it's the closest to what they used to get with Jon.
Well, yeah, and I think that was sort of what Jon Stewart did really well, is that he criticized both sides, and I do that in my show. In my stand-up and my podcast.
And where can people find your show, by the way?
Oh, it's available on my website at ramennoodlescomedy.com. RAMAN noodlescomedy.com. It's a super old joke of mine that I was like, oh, this will be the thing that I do forever. And then I was like, oh, I got to. Well, all right. We're stuck with it now until I can figure out how to
emails are forever.
Yeah. But I criticize liberals, and that's the thing that's gotten me in the last couple of years more flack than anything else, right? I've literally had more conservatives come to my shows because I tour a lot in the Midwest and the South, and I've had more conservatives come to my shows and say, I have never heard that before. Or, I didn't agree with everything that you said, but I appreciate the way that you said it. Well, it's because I didn't go up there and trash your belief systems just for the sake of trashing your belief system. Just because you believe something opposite than I do, right? It's like I'm gonna kind of go after it, but I'm also gonna go after the other side. Like I am gonna make fun of the way liberals go about doing things, right? This whole wave of riots from the left is ridiculous to me. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that
the outrage culture.
Yeah, like I'm the nonviolent guy. Can we talk to each other? Right? And then it's like, no, we got to punch the Nazis. And it's like, I kind of don't think we're getting rid of Nazis that way. Like they
we literally went to war with them and that didn't get rid of them, apparently.
Yeah, we shot them in the face. Like we shot them in the face and somehow the ideology still exists, right? Like violence doesn't get rid of ideologies. It's a deeper battle in my opinion. So kind of when I start talking about that, that's when the far left starts to come after me because it's one or the other. And it's just polar extremes, right? If you're not going to shit on Trump, then obviously you're one of his supporters. And it's like, no, I just don't think Trump is the problem. Like he's a symptom of a much larger disease, and I would rather go and try to cure the disease rather than a pimple, which is kind of what he is. He's a pimple in a body that's riddled with cancer.
So and honestly, it's got to be difficult being a comedian like in the Trump age because like kind of everybody expects you to dunk on Trump. And it's like, okay, at a certain point, I got to have something other to talk about than the fact that Trump is orange and he's not the smartest and he has baby hands. I think like it's much easier to dunk on the Democrats in the comedic regard because they make it so much easier, in my opinion.
Oh, man. Every single time Joe Biden says something, it's just like, Jesus. Like, what are you doing?
Because he says it with such a serious face, and he thinks that everybody agrees.
Right, and he's just so convicted about his bad ideas. Like he really believes in his genuine terrible ideas. Yeah, he's like
Hillary didn't even look genuine when she was spewing her bullshit.
No, she was just like, "This is probably what you plebes want to hear."
Yeah, nobody don't give a shit. Millennials, you need to get the fuck over it, right? We all agree with that, right? Okay, yeah. Dude, no, you're the only person in this room that agrees with this shit. What the hell are you talking about?
You're like, Joe, we get it. You're trying to get the Republican vote. I get it. Like, run as a Republican then. Like, what do you to stop wasting the Democratic vote?
Yeah.
Stop splitting the left. Go with
like
the
he's
right.
Literally running to be a Republican at this point.
Oh, none of his policies are what you would think that the Democratic Party stands for. They're just like the crime bill is a perfect example of that's not what the Democratic Party stands for, and that is still something like he goes on shows and he's like, I'm proud of my record. And it's like, maybe don't though.
Like, that record got you 2 L's, bro. 2 losses. Your record got you 2 losses and you're proud of it.
Yeah, you ran twice and didn't win and nothing has changed except you're just older and don't give a fuck now. Like that's basically
what doesn't happen when you're older.
Yeah, right? Like that's basically what it and you're like sniffing the youth a little too much. Like those are maybe the differences.
But isn't that everyone's dream to have a president who's he's clearly perfect for the job because everybody wants a president who literally has never learned. He's 77 years old and has never learned from any of his mistakes. I think that shows conviction. Okay, I think that shows conviction. I think that shows consistency, and that's what we really need in this country. At least we don't have to guess where Biden stands. Like with Trump, we don't know what he might be liberal one day, he might be conservative, he might be a white supremacist, he might love black people, you might see him and he might love black people the next day. We really don't know. With Biden, we can rest assured he'll throw every black person he can get his hand on in jail. And he'll definitely sniff your daughter's hair. So like that's 2 consistent things that we can count on.
You can bet on that with him. But that's the funny thing is people try to use that consistency against Bernie Sanders. That's what I always am entertained by, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, Bernie's been consistent for 30 years. What an old goober." And then and then it's like, look at Joe Biden, consistent record. That's what you got to vote for. And it's like, how about we vote for the consistent record that is for people and doesn't create continuous looping problems that we faced over the course of 30 years.
Yeah, and you know, it's, I have like a few issues with some of Bernie's record, but like at least he has some like viable explanations. Like I may not like all of them, but he don't like. Yeah, I voted for the crime bill. Well, do you think any? Nope, loved it. Didn't think there were any problems for me whatsoever.
Good bill.
It's all great.
Did great. Yeah.
I call it Bernie's crime bill. That's what I call it now because I love it so much. Didn't do anything wrong, just did everything right, and we moved on. It was great. I mean, 93% of the prison population is black, so I mean, basically got its job done. So what's the problem? Most of the country, you know, that's not even. It's only 93% of the prison population. 13% of black people in the world are in the country. So like, and it's not even all the black people. So I think we did a pretty damn good job. Like,
that's what people always get mad at that whenever you kind of bring up that racial disparity when it comes to criminal justice in America. But then it's like, no, it is statistically speaking, it's a big deal. Like no one's saying that white people are also not being put into prisons for nonviolent crimes. It's just statistically speaking, there's way more fucking white people in America.
It's true. That's just the raw numbers. Yeah. But it's interesting. I tell people all the time. I say, you know what? You might get arrested for being poor. But black people also get arrested for being poor. You might get arrested for driving your car the wrong part of town, but it won't because you were black. You could be poor, right? You could have a lack of opportunity. You could have a lack of a proper network. There are a lot of things that could happen to you as a poor white person, but nothing you've ever experienced happens specifically because you're black. Not a single thing. You think being poor and white? Imagine, like, name something that is like shitty in America and gets better when you're black. Being a woman, it's worse when you're black. Being handicapped, even worse when you're black. Being poor sucks when you're black. Like when y'all are poor and in a white community, like y'all go through the opioid epidemics, everybody's like, oh my God, we have to open up these halfway houses and make sure they can get the proper help. We got to send them to therapy and all. When black people was going through a crack epidemic, it was put those naggers in jail. That's what they were saying. So like, it's true. There's a disparity. It's okay. Accept it. Just acknowledge it and we can all move on. But the problem is people like Bernie have acknowledged it. People like Tulsi have acknowledged it. Hell, even Kamala has fake acknowledged it. But we can't even get Joe Biden to fake acknowledge it. He's like, nope, didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? Like a 2-year-old, but a 62-year-old or a 72-year-old, which might be worse.
Yeah, he's one of the old guys.
So let everybody know where they can find you. I know is the album on your website as well?
What's that? Oh yeah, the album is available on the homepage at ramennoodlescomedy.com. That's RAMAN noodlescomedy.com. And you can follow me on social media at Krish Mohan haha. So Instagram, Twitter.
You have anything coming up?
I do. I'm gonna be down south on the road. I'm coming to Chapel Hill, Atlanta, Nashville. Yeah, I'm doing the Atlanta Fringe Festival from June 6th through the 9th. And then I've got a couple album release shows. June 1st in Knoxville, June 2nd in Huntsville, and then June 15th in Pittsburgh.
Nice. So, where are you going to in Chapel Hill? Where are you performing at?
Zogs, which is really cool. Like,
I'm familiar with them. I graduated from UNC. That's why I was asking.
Oh yeah, Chapel Hill is this weird hippie, progressive.
Half hippie, half super neoliberal. It's very confused, but
it's super very confusing place.
It did go to Bernie in 2016, though. It did.
It did go to Bernie. Yeah. I have a friend of mine that I usually stay with. She does the candidates with the contract. Kelly Lane. She and I always talk where we're like, yeah, Chapel is weird because there's a contingent of it that's like super progressive, and then it's just like, well, any blue will do, and it's like, will it? But
will it though? Like,
yeah, and it's like, I want you to come to my show and like understand some truth.
And I'd be damned as a UNC alum. Like, if I ever hear anyone from Chapel Hill tell me any blue will do with Duke right down the street from them, I'd fight them. I'd fight. We had to throw hands on that because they know better. They know better than anybody that any blue won't do. Okay, I'll take it a little personal when they say it. So with that being said, man, I appreciate you coming on, Krish.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Check out his shows at his website, ramennoodlecomedy.com.
Ramennoodlescomedy.com.
Ramennoodlescomedy.com. You can check out the show dates there. Get his album where he makes fun of the same people that we make fun of the hilarious the ugly crying faces of 2016 after they sealed their own demise by not addressing election integrity. And once again, you can follow him on Twitter at Krish Mohan haha. Krish Mohan, haha.
Yep.
Because I'm guessing it's for the comedy part.
Yeah.
And follow him there. And for everything else, people, always remember, find your balance. Peace.